Just thought I'd let you know the thumbnail that I made for this episode.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's really good.
You, you see Doc, Green Goblin in the background.
Oh yeah.
Okay, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of B-Lospective. I'm Bilo, and today we're gonna be talking about Spider-Man: No Way Home. I'm here with Seth Swisky, who you might know, who makes comic book rap battles, and yeah. To this is pretty much the newest installment to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the third of the MCU Spider-Man trilogy. Now Spider-Man trilogy in the MCU, and this is probably the most anticipated Marvel movie since probably Avengers Endgame. I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. So so I know this is like a few weeks late, but I feel like I still wanted to like talk about this because I wanted to like give my thoughts out there. And so yeah, I've rewatched the Raimi and Webb movies beforehand, as well as the MCU Spider-Man movies beforehand before coming into
Mhm.
watching this movie. Just to get myself like prepared because if you've seen from the trailers, they bring back old villains like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, and all that stuff. And uh, now it when I look back at them nowadays, some of them don't hold up as much as I remember, but uh, some of them I gotten like used to, and some of them I feel like get too much hate and stuff like that. So yeah, so basically it's like if like the Spider-Man fan base has like a lot of different opinions, and there's like a lot of like beef on like who like debating like who's everyone's like favorite like Spider-Man, and if they have like a different opinion, they always like get into arguments instead of
Mhm.
like respecting opinions. Um, but if you want my opinions, I'll just give them like a rundown. I think I think when it comes to the Raimi films, the first one I think is okay. It's like a good start. Sure, some things may not hold up, but you excuse it for like the time period is in. Spider-Man 2, I think it's the best of the trilogy. Um, Spider-Man 3, since I know more about Venom ever since the first time I saw it, it's like I kind of get more like angry at it with like how like botched like the whole story like was adapted. But I don't really blame Raimi. I blame more like studio interference for it because they wanted to like hammer in like Venom and Gwen Stacy and all that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just hated that film upon rewatching it. For the web movies, The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one I think it's still like fine. Even though like people like say like this specific universe is like the worst Spider-Man universe. I think it's like gets too much hate. Like the first one's fine, and I know that's like the second one is like really like a jumbled up mess with how much it crams in at once. and and of course for the Spider-Man MCU movies, Spider-Man Homecoming, even though it's like not as grand as like other Spider-Man movies before it, I still think it's like a fine um like average Spider-Man movie. Like it's like there's nothing big, but you can like sit through it fine. It's just like a fun movie to sit through.
Mhm.
And Far From Home, since it takes place like immediate like this is the first movie after Avengers Endgame. I still think this was like a good uh like ending for like Phase 3 for the MCU. I still think it's like one of my like favorite Spider-Man movies. And now we're here with Spider-Man: No Way Home. So yeah, so I saw this when it first came out because obviously we were gonna spoil the hell out of this, and and uh and this is the first time I ever seen in my life where people actually leak a movie online, and I don't know why because like this is a freaking movie. No one wants to be spoiled. I don't know who would want to see like this, like spoilers
Right.
for this. Um, but yeah, I try my best to stay away from spoilers, and thankfully, once I saw it, um, yeah, I wasn't spoiled, and thank God. I knew I was expecting some things, but overall, I still had like a I was fine without being like having too much spoiled for me. Um,
That's nice.
and after getting out of the after getting out of the theater after seeing this, like here's the thing, like um, I make the argument that no Spider-Man movie is perfect. Like even ones I really like, I still think they're like not even there's like still some flaws with it. But after coming out of No Way Home, I feel like this could actually be the one where you feel like it can be debatable if it is a perfect movie because like I feel like there's like so much I really loved about this movie like coming out of it
Hmm.
that and also I can see why like Sony likes to like release all this like Spider-Man stuff like every year because once you like get like like thing one Spider-Man thing you just like kind of want more of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just gonna go down the movie like scene by scene. I and ever since I saw this on premiere night, and I since then since now that we're talking about it, I've seen it like two other times, so I saw it like three times.
Yeah, I've also seen it 3 times at this point.
Okay,
It's just yeah.
yeah, it's like really good. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna go down, see what we like remember, and go scene by scene. Um, I I took notes like on my phone, not during the movie theater, but I tried to remember as much things as possible.
All right.
Okay, so we start off like immediately after Spider-Man Far From Home with Mysterio revealing the identity of Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man. You see J. Jonah Jameson on the uh, screen, and people like down on the ground are like berating like MJ. It's like, oh my god, you're Spider-Man's girlfriend, yada yada yada. So so yeah, Peter gets MJ out of there. Um, one guy tries to jump Spider-Man while he escapes. Um, so yeah, they like swing away. They like swing away from all like the madness of like the paparazzi, all the crowds and stuff. They go through the subway, which is like a safer route, and then they make their way back to Peter's apartment with uh, back home to like Aunt May. And while they arrive, like Happy Hogan and Aunt May have like this little talk of like their like quote unquote breakup. Um, and then right before Happy gets the chance to leave, he hears like a thumping like noise in the back. So he goes to check if it's like Peter or something, and it's like really like awkward like walk-in scene where it sounds like they're doing something nasty, um, but it's actually like when Happy opens the door, he sees like a half naked like Peter, and he's like, "I didn't see anything." Yeah. So Peter tries to uh, explain everything. He's like shutting off like the windows to hide like the helicopters and all that. But May and Happy see like the news that's going on the live footage coming on the TV, um, the live footage that's being recorded with their apartment and all that. And so yeah, it's pretty much like uh, yeah, it's like all fucked for like Peter since his identity is now known to the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, we then cut to like to a police station, and Peter and his friends are being intimidated or interrogated. Uh, Ned's being interrogated. Aunt May, MJ, and it seems like apparently I like in this universe, Michelle MJ stands for Michelle Jones, but apparently her we actually get her actual last name, which is Watson. So it technically is Mary Jane, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting how
Yeah, I
they.
was surprised. I was like, oh my god, it is Watson. Um, so they're finished being interrogated, and so Peter decides to get a lawyer, and that lawyer turns out to be Matthew
It's the
Murdock,
boy.
aka the Daredevil. The same actor, Charlie Cox from the Daredevil TV series, um, uh, which uh, the shows like Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and like stuff like that. Uh, they turn out to be like non-canon, but it seems like they're working their way to, or at least for Daredevil, to bring him at least back into like the canon like universe,
Right.
which is cool because like even though I haven't seen anything from the Daredevil TV series. What from what I've seen, this guy plays a pretty good Daredevil. Um, and coincidentally, the Hawkeye series actually brought back a Kingpin. So
It sure did.
yeah, so that's gonna be it. I'm glad he's Daredevil's gonna be a part of this universe. There's even like a moment where a brick is being thrown through the window and Daredevil catches it and Peter's like, "How'd you do that?" He's like, "I'm a really good lawyer." Like, so so Peter's legal troubles are fine, but they still need a new place to stay because people are just gonna like be like around like their current apartment for like 24/7. So they move into like Happy's apartment. Um, so then like the next day, uh, we go to Peter's high school. Um, and there's this little thing Betty Brant, who we get a returning character for. She says, "Go get him, Tiger," at one point, and which is usually an MJ line. So I just thought I just like point it out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was interesting.
yeah. So like yeah, there's like crowds like of people like behind like gates, so they don't like charge in and surround like Peter and his friends. Um, they're like taking pictures, and Peter's just like really uncomfortable with it. Flash Thompson is also back, and he's like trying to make it up like him and Peter have always been best friends, even though that's total bullshit. Um, they also go into the school where they where like his teachers like built a shrine for him. The kids are like taking photos of him like
Oh
on
yeah.
his phone, and it's like really overwhelming. So we cut to the rooftop with him and MJ, and Ned joins in later. And I did notice this. Apparently, it was in the trailers, but you could see like a spray paint tag of like Steve Ditko's name like in the back.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't notice that in the trailer, but I guess I missed that. But I noticed like since it was like on a bigger screen. Um,
Yeah.
so Peter, Ned, and MJ, uh, they want to like try to apply to like this is their final year in high school, and they're trying to apply for college. And the main one they want to go to together is MIT. Um, but since like their like reputation is like you know kind of fucked right now with it like Mysterio and all that. Um, uh, it doesn't really go well for them. And MJ like has this like quote of like expect disappointment, therefore you won't be disappointed, which plays later on. So we can get like a little montage of like Peter getting his like applications, and of course he doesn't get into any of them. The
Yeah.
backup schools at least, and then we go to Ned meet up with Peter, MJ, and Ned, where MJ works, which is like this like donut place. Um, they all read their MIT letters together, and of course they all get rejected. Um, which is yeah, which sucks for them because of like because of like their reputation being like they're like getting a bad reputation over like false like information. So
Yeah.
so Peter's bummed out, um, and he's like thinking of like how this can all be fixed, and then you see like little like Halloween decorations, uh, where it's like lights with Doctor Strange as like a witch or something, um, or like a vampire witch or something like that, and that gives the Peter the idea to seek the help of Doctor Strange uh, because because Doctor Strange has like tampered with the powers of time before with him having the Eye of Agamotto, like the Time Stone and all that. So he goes to the Sanctorum, and it's like filled with snow inside of there because apparently one of the gateways or whatever, like one of the portals, I think, like a blizzard from Siberia stormed through there. So that explains why it was snowing in the trailers. Um, it turns out Wong, played by Benedict Wong, once again, is the Sorcerer Supreme. Uh, but he got it on a technicality because Doctor Strange was stabbed by Thanos for like 5 years. so so Peter talks to Doctor Strange. There's like this little routine throughout the movie where he switches from calling him Sir to Steven and all that. Um, and Strange tells Peter that even if he wanted to, he doesn't have the time stone anymore because the current timeline they're in, it was destroyed, and the one that they used was in the past, which was returned. So, but there was an alternative. There is an alternative like solution, uh, which is something called the Runes of Kafkal. I had to write it down, um, which is a simple spell to make everyone forget a certain thing. So, and Wong is like, "Don't cast that spell; it's too dangerous." And Steven's like, "It's like everything's gonna be fine." So Wong leaves. And Peter and Doctor Strange head to what's called the Undercroft, um, where they begin the spell. And Strange is like, "It's been nice knowing you, Spider Man," because apparently Peter didn't know that when Strange said everyone's gonna forget that Peter Parker is Spider Man, it literally means everyone. Um,
Mhm.
so so while in the middle of the spell, Peter's like, "Oh my God, Ned should know, MJ should know, Aunt May should know, Happy should know," and and it changes the spell like 5 different times, and but you can't change the spell that much with it while Strange is doing the spell, and of course this causes a a whole like the whole fabric of like space time is like being ripped apart. And while you're seeing this, you can see like silhouettes of people through this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this happens again, which we'll get to later on. But it's a really uh, cool like thing, like cool visual. But so Doctor Strange contains the spell, um, and yeah, so Strange is like, well, like I'm sorry about your friends and all that, but even if you ask to like reconsider and they still turned you down, then there's like nothing I could do. But it turns out Peter didn't actually ask MIT to reconsider, and Doctor Strange is like, you just told me to freaking brainwash the entire world, and you're telling me you didn't even tell them to reconsider, and then he like gets kicked out. Um, so later on, Peter finds like through the help of Flash, he goes to look for like uh, this like caseworker who works at MIT, and he follows her to the bridge. And if people know the bridge, they and from the trailers, they probably know what's coming next. Um, so so yeah, while he's chatting with the lady from MIT, his spider sense like starts to like sense something, and then he noticed like the bridge like starting to like collapse. Uh, it starts to collapse. He puts on his like iron spider suit, and this is the first like big villain that we get or rather reintroduced to. Um, you see mechanical tentacle arms like come out from the ground, and you see the reveal of the returning villain, Alfred Molina as Doctor Octopus, which is really awesome to see him like doing this role like after like a decade, I think.
Oh yeah, it's very nice to see.
Yeah. So Doc Ock is like he's like hello Peter. He's like and Peter's like I do I know you? And uh, Otto is like he's like what have you done with my machine? And Peter, of course, he doesn't know what he's talking about because this isn't uh, his universe. Uh, and he drops the quote, which is one of many quotes dropped from like previous Spider-Man movies. Doctor Doc Ock is like the power of the sun in the palm of my hands, and he says that like a couple of times like later on. Um, so So of course, Doc Ock thinks Peter's just acting stupid, like saying like he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So they start this little like fight scene, and it's like really cool to see like Doc Ock is like throwing shit, and
Hmm.
Spider Man is just like dodging, trying to save like everyone, and it's really cool to see. There's this one part where Doc Ock is like, I should have killed your girlfriend when I had the chance, and uh, Peter comes out like this UPS truck with his like iron spider legs. Like it like comes out like really smoothly. It was like really cool. Um, so while Doc Ock and Peter are like fighting, they're like it goes like under the bridge, and Doc Ock pins Peter to like the scaffolding holding up the bridge. He takes off a piece of the Iron Spider suit, and it fuses with into his like tentacle arms. Um, he goes in for like a killing blow, but some of the nanotech goes through uh, where the piece of the Iron Spider suit was missing, and it
Hmm.
uncovers his face. And of course, this is where Doc Ock sees his face. He's like, "You're not my Peter Parker." Um, but while this is happening, Peter then soon realizes that due to the nanotechnology in the arms, it turns out that he's now in control of the mechanical arms. And when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." Um, so Doc Ock is like contained. Peter saves the lady from MIT, uh, and before Peter can get an answer out of him on who he is and where he came from, we then Spider Man gets his spider sense tingling again, and then we get introduced to our second villain that's been brought to this universe, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, the original villain from Spider Man One. Um, you see him, you see him in his like classic like Green Goblin outfit from the first movie. And really, this is like the first and only time you ever get to see it throughout like the whole
Yeah,
like
that's
movie.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Later on, he like destroys it, but and I feel like people there's like are like gonna be like mad that it wasn't there for like much longer. But honestly, in my eyes, I think I like him better with the mask off because Willem Dafoe does a lot with just his facial expressions alone.
Oh yeah, it adds
Because
so much to the
yeah,
role for sure.
oh yeah, because like he like we see like his like smile as like the Goblin, it's really like menacing. And like rewatching like the first Spider-Man, while I think I think it was like I think the whole like suit was good like for the time period because we don't have like the technology that like we have like today. But
Hmm.
but there's some moments where you can like see through like the mouthpiece of like the fabric and you could see Willem Dafoe's mouth and it's like really distracting. Like you could tell Willem Dafoe is like emoting under the mask, but with the mask you can't really see it. So I don't know. I honestly kind of prefer like Willem Dafoe without like the mask, and plus he gets like a purple hoodie later on, which is kind of like more like comic accurate. So,
Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, I think Willem Dafoe here as Green Goblin, I think he's done like 10 times better like here than he was like ever since like the original Spider-Man because when he's the
Absolutely.
Goblin when he's fighting you can like feel like the power and like the punches he throw like you can feel the Goblin serum like in full effect. Like it
Yeah.
feels like he's been juiced up. So before Peter gets a chance to fight Green Goblin, uh, they're taken away into the Undercroft by Doctor Strange, and Doc Ock is put in like this like little cell in there, and we get introduced to like a which is a sudden appearance by the third villain of this movie, the Lizard, voiced by Risa Fons again. Uh, and I will say, I think I'm pretty sure they just like they slightly updated Lizard's design. Like he looks like more
Yes.
scaly and all that. Um, but he looks pretty much like how he does in like the first Amazing Spider. But I think it's like slightly better. Like I know he doesn't like
Yeah.
have like the snout thing, but like I think it's like fine for what they did. I don't think they wanted to
Oh
change him
yeah.
like too much.
No, they want him to be recognizable. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, we got introduced to the lizard again. Um, and I don't think the lizard has that much in the movie. He doesn't get like that much like screen time as much as the other villains, but I think for what
No.
he has, like, I for what he has, I think he like does fine with what he has. Um, so Peter's talking to Doctor Strange, he's like, ever since we you botched that spell of how you want the whole world to forget Peter Parker Spider Man, it started to bring in visitors from other universes who know Peter Parker Spider Man. So so Strange tells Peter that this is like his mess, and he gives him like this like wrist device where it like shoots like a magic web, and it transports anything into like the cells that Doc Ock and Lizard are staying in. Um, so Peter agrees with it, and of course he says like if he's gonna do it, he is gonna need some help. So of course he gets Ned and MJ. Um, so they're taken into the Sanctum Sanctorum. Doctor Strange is like, Scooby Doo this shit. Um, in the trailer it was Scooby Doo this crap, but in the movie it's like he uses a more naughty word. Um, so yeah, they the three are go into the Undercroft. They see Doc Ock and Lizard. Um, and Doc Ock, he tells like it's not possible that he talks about Norman Osborn, because of course he knows him from the timeline. He's like, it's impossible that he's alive, because in my time he's dead. Um, so yeah, I feel like we get interactions from the villains from their respected universes, which I think
Yeah.
it's a cool thing to see because we never really get it that much in like other like comic book like standalone movies that much.
Hmm.
Um, like the Amazing Spider-Man tried to do something because they were setting up the Sinister Six, but it never really went anywhere. So um, it's cool to see some like villain like interaction from like the same universes, like Norman interacted with Doc Ock and all that, and Electro
Oh yeah.
interacted with Lizard. Um, so so Peter heads off to find like other visitors from other universes. Uh, he gets technically a new suit, but it's really just like the Far From Home red and black suit, but like the fabric just like uh, taken off, uh, and he has the, like the wrist thing, because like because there's like one scene earlier where someone splashed like green paint all over Spider-Man's suit and it needs to be washed. So yeah, so Spider-Man heads to like like this like electrical power plant place in the woods. Um, and there's like this cool uh uh and later we're like introduced to like two of the last two villains. One of them is like sneaking around through like the ground. You can see like in the background or in the foreground, like you can see like the ground like starting to like
Hmm.
move, and I thought that was like really cool to see.
Oh
And
yeah.
and then while Spider-Man is looking around, he notices like some the electricity in one of the power lines like starting to like morph into like this like human figure. And of course, this is where we get reintroduced to Electro, played by Jamie Foxx. Um, so I think people consider, I don't know if it's like the worst, but like people consider or like Jamie Foxx as Electro like one of the poorly adapted villains in the Spider-Man franchise,
Right.
because in his like like in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, uh the way he's like portrayed is like his motivations are like really like kind of like pathetic, like I just wanted people to notice me and all that. Plus his design didn't look that good. He was like all blue and all that. But I can say like Jamie Foxx's Electro has pretty much been like redeemed, like all of that. Like I feel like his like of course we see like his like design gets better. Like he has his body back later on. and I feel like his motivations about wanting to taste this universe's power is like totally like better than whatever motivation he had in like Amazing
Oh
Spider-Man
yeah,
2.
much
So
more fitting.
yeah, so yeah, I don't even think he like even mentions like the motivation is like people wanting to know him. I think he like mentions it like quickly like once, um I think it's like better explained. Like his motivations are totally like 10 times better here. So yeah, it's like Electro is actually one of like pretty much a better villain here than he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. So so Spider-Man tries to web up Electro. Of course, it doesn't work because he's like pure electricity and it like, goes through him. And there's this little thing I noticed like while rewatching Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though I didn't like Electro, I thought his theme song was actually kind of catchy with it like being like all dubsteppy and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's this like little like tidbit of like the theme song when Electro like opens his eyes, he's like wow wow wow. It's like I was like that's the song. Um, and there's also some other moments in the soundtrack um, where it like subtly like plays like songs from like the Raimi trilogy and the Amazing
Oh
Spider-Man
yeah.
films.
The villain themes are, yeah, very much
Yeah.
present, and they make it work like really well.
Oh yeah, totally. Um, so Electro is fighting Spider-Man. Uh, Electro is like still blue, but thankfully it's only like temporary for like this stage specifically. And right before Electro is about to like give like some killing blow, we get introduced to like the final villain of this movie, with the Sandman, played by Thomas Hayden Church. Um, and he's helping Peter because in Spider-Man 3, he like turned over a new leaf by the end. Um, and I consider like Sandman as like one of the underrated characters. Like for as much like shit that Spider-Man 3 gets, I think Sandman is probably like one of the uh, standout moment, like one of the positives of like that film. Uh,
Oh, for sure.
so yeah, so and also want to say that Sandman, even though in Spider-Man 3 we see him in like the striped shirt and like the iconic uniform, he's like made up of all sand. He's like all in the sand form, which I found odd at first, but I'm guessing is because Thomas Hayden Church doesn't exactly look as much like he does now that he did back then.
Right.
Because I saw like pictures of him like in like nowadays because and he's I don't think he's like as like uh jacked up as he like used to be. So I'm guessing that's
Oh,
why they uh used
I'm
him as like an
guessing.
all
Yeah.
stand for him. Yeah. I
I'm
think this
guessing it could be that. Maybe like COVID scheduling.
that too, yeah.
Like maybe he couldn't be like on like physically on set or anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, it makes you wonder. Yeah, but I think that's definitely, yeah, it's probably what you're saying, and
Yeah.
just that, yeah, he looks pretty different now.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's the similar case for like Risa Fons for like Lizard, which is why they
Right.
used him as like all CGI for uh throughout the film. So Sandman helps Spider-Man fight Electro. They calm Electro down. They pull the plug, and when Electro gets back up, he sees that he's got his new body back, and Peter says, "This is a whole new universe." And Electro is like, he's like, "That's the reason why the energy here feels weird." Uh, because in the Amazing Spider-Man, the lightning is blue, and here the lightning is yellow. That's why it feels
Mm-hmm.
different. Um, so Electro and Sandman are captured. Peter like webs them into their cells. Um, while Electro is like in there, Electro like recognizes the lizard and he tells like his backstory of how he wanted how the lizard wanted to turn the whole city into lizards. Um, after this, we then get like a scene of like Norman Osborn, uh, who just got switched out from his Goblin personality. Um, he sees like the mask like hanging from like the garbage bin, and he's like in his head he's like talking to the Goblin, and then Norman like runs away and he like smashes the mask into pieces. Later, Aunt May calls Peter saying that that Norman is at the Feast Center, which is an actual thing in the Spider-Man like universe. Um, and the Feast Center is also where, or at least like in like in the Insomniac PS4 game, is where Martin Lee also works, the Mr. Negative. So
Hmm.
maybe they're introducing Mr. Negative at some point, which will be cool.
Yeah.
I honestly I'll be down to see, but
Yeah.
yeah. So Peter finds Norman. Norman is like going like trying to comprehend that this is a new universe. He's like there's someone else living at my house. Oscorp is not even a thing. Uh, Harry is like also mentioned. Um, so Peter takes Norman to the sanctum, and he introduces him to Ned and MJ. And when Norman hears MJ, he's like, Mary Jane. So we get like a name drop of Mary Jane Watson, Kirsten Dunst's character. Um, and we then get Norman sees like the other villains, including Doc Ock, which he recognizes. He's like, "Oh my god, it's Octavius!" And while this happens, they like Doc Ock is like, he's like, "You shouldn't be here. You're a walking corpse. You're dead. I saw it was all over the news." But and then Sandman comes in. He's like, Doc Ock also died, and that's when
Yeah.
they all put it together that that all these villains, well, technically not all of them because like Sandman and the
No.
Lizard, they at least like most of them died fighting Spider Man. Um, maybe there's a thing that Lizard died from his like Lizard serum or something, like an overdose of it or something. Uh, but we see Sandman like fly off at the end of Spider Man 3,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, we see Doctor Strange come in. He has like a box which can like which has like the contain spell inside it, and it can send the villains back to their proper universes. But once they realize the fact that they die fighting Spider-Man, he's like, I don't think we want to go back. So, and even like Peter like takes like feels bad for them because he doesn't like it's not in his like nature to like let anyone like just die without giving them like a second chance. Um,
Hmm.
so he takes the box from Doctor Strange. He escapes the sanctum. Doctor Strange like tries to like stop him. He like puts him like through. He has him go through like portals, and then at some point he pushes Peter's astral form out of his physical body, which we've seen a couple times with like Hulk in Endgame and in the original Doctor Strange movie. Um,
Right.
so Doctor Strange tries to take the box from Peter's physical body, but somehow, and I think this is due to the Spidey sense, his arm somehow kept moving, and I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Um, so Peter goes back to his physical body, and along the line, and at some point, Doctor Strange takes Peter to the mirror dimension, which we know from the Doctor Strange movie, and like it was in the Doctor Strange movie, the mirror dimension makes for some like really cool visuals and all that. Um, so yeah, Doctor Strange is like in control of the mirror dimension because he's like a sorcerer. Well, he's not sorcerer supreme anymore, but he was a sorcerer supreme. But he can still control the mirror dimension. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of like cool and trippy like visuals here. Um, there's like one point where Doctor Strange does like the portal trick, like the infinite fall from the Portal games with his portals, while he's trying to
Yeah.
get the box. And so so of course you're thinking, how does Peter get out of this? So Peter actually counterattacks the mirror dimension by using geometry. Um, because he sees like the mirror dimension has like this like I think he called it an Archimedean spiral. So he webs up certain points, and then they web to Doctor Strange, and he has them like suspended, like over like the this like space. So like Peter takes like the box and his sling ring, which helps him make the portals, and he heads back to the sanctum. Um, so so while he's back, he talks to like the villains, where he's like, you guys don't have to. go back to your own universe to die. I can help like cure you. And when he said that, Norman was like he like line drops another quote from the original Spider-Man. He's like, "I can help. You know, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself." So it's like, and when he said that, the whole theater was like, "I said the thing." Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, he convinces the villains to have Peter help him and try to cure him, and he takes them to Happy's apartment. Um, but Ned and MJ take the box, so just in case like something goes wrong, MJ can like push the button on the box and they can go back to their original universes. So yeah, the Peter and the villains, as well as Aunt May, head to Happy's apartment to work on cures for them. Uh, you could see some like a few moments like Electro turns on the TV with his electrical powers. Sandman getting sand on the couch. He's like, "Oh, sorry." So Doc Ock is like, he's like, "You're really gonna help us? You're really gonna like make cures in this condominium? What are you gonna like cook up frozen burritos in a microwave?" And Norman's like, "I can go for a burrito." Um, so and while this, not all the villains are in like the apartment because Lizard, I don't know why, but for some reason he wanted to stay in like the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because he's a giant lizard and he doesn't want to be seen by people. But
Could be.
but so yeah, so in the back of like the apartment, there's like a fabricator from Stark Industries which can make like anything like science stuff. It's powered by an arc reactor, which Electro sees is like, oh, I like that. Um, so the first person they try to cure is Doctor Octavius. Um, there's a little moment with him and Aunt May, where he's like, where May offers like Doc some water. He's like, salt or tap because you're an octopus. um, so yeah, that's good. That's a that's a funny scene. So and also we also get an interaction with Electro and Sandman. They talk about like their motives and their origins.
Mm-hmm.
Sandman, of course, he talks about his daughter, which is a thing that was in Spider-Man 3. And they both talk about how they both fell into like how Electro fell into a pool of electric eels and how Sandman fell into a super collider. Um, so it's so yeah, they pretty much all the villains like have the same like motivations and their same uh like canon like backstories from the previous films that they were in, which is cool. Sure, it's like some maybe like slightly tweaked, um, like Electro for example, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same for all of them. Like these are still like the
Yeah.
characters you know from the movies. So 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 Peter and Norman are working for like this new inhibitor chip to replace the fried one that Doc Ock had, because the inhibitor chip like controls like the AI um, with the arms. So instead of like the him controlling the arm, it's him controlling the arms. It's the arms controlling him. Um, and what I like about the scene is we see like science interaction between Peter and Norman Osborn, um,
Oh yeah.
which is a cool like interaction. Because like in the original Raimi trilogy, that Spider-Man isn't really much of like a technological guy. You don't really see him like make anything. Like he doesn't like have like the mechanic like the web shooters and all that. Like they come from
Mm-hmm.
his wrist. You don't really see him do like that much science stuff. Hell, I don't think I don't think you even see that much of like Oscorp for that matter. Other than for like a few rooms, but it's nice seeing like some science interaction between Norman and Peter. Um, so they make a new inhibitor chip, um, and they put it into the back of like Doctor Octavius. He gets knocked out once it's put in, but after a while he wakes up and he's like, "Oh my God, the voices are gone," and Doctor Octopus is now cured, um, which is cool. So once he's cured, he goes down and he gives back the nanotechnology that he stole from Peter, and he puts his on the Far From Home suit, the red and black suit, and he integrates the little piece of like the nanotechnology into like this new like golden spider. So it's pretty much like a combo of the Far From Home suit and the Iron Spiders, which is a pretty cool suit. Looking at it,
Yeah.
so so next they're working on the Goblin's cure. Uh, they're also working on Electro's cure and no, I think that's it actually. Um, while Norman is making the Goblin cure, uh, you can see at a point where where the Goblin takes over because Doc
Yeah.
because Otto because Octavius is like, you're finally gonna be whole again. You're just gonna be just you, and you could see from the back of Norman's head, he's like, just me. I'm like the way he said it, you can tell I was like,
Yeah.
ah shit. um, so Peter like gives like Electro his cure. He like puts like a thing like on his chest, which like drains like the electricity from his body, or at least the one that's like the electricity that's like unneeded.
Yeah.
Um, and while this is happening, J.K. Simmons as Jameson arrives. He's like, like I want to say Spider Man there, yada yada yada. Um, and and after that, his Spider Man senses started his senses start to tingle, and he tries to like sense it on who it's coming from. And once he pinpoints on who it's coming from, he shoots his web, and it turns out it's like it turns out like the Green Goblin has like taken over Norman again,
Mhm.
and he's the Goblin's like has like this monologue of like, you're like, you're struggling to have everything you want, but the world tries to make you choose. And um, I say the monologues from Green Goblin, like the dialogue from Green Goblin in this movie, is like more like menacing, whereas
Oh
like
yeah.
whereas like I guess it's somewhat menacing in the first Spider-Man movie, but um, mostly it's like there's like some points in the first Spider-Man movie where it doesn't feel as threatening and
Yeah.
isn't like stereotypical or even like cheesy at some points. Um, but here, Green Goblin is like really menacing, especially with William Dafoe's like acting with his like facial expressions, like I said. Um, so yeah, Willem Dafoe is like really one of the standout performances, and you can tell he's like he like has fun like playing like this character after so many years.
Yeah.
So so the Goblin try convinces the other villains to, because he's like, these aren't curses, they're gifts and all that, And Peter tells Aunt May to run with the cures for Norman and Electro. Uh, and the villains make their escape. Electro takes the arc reactor. Sandman escapes like through the hole in the wall that Electro makes. Doc Ock is like blasted out by Electro, and Peter and Goblin have like their little have a little fight scene, and also Lizard escapes from the truck. Um,
Oh yeah.
so we have this fight scene with Peter and Goblin in the hallways, and honestly a really brutal like fight scene. Like if
Oh
you,
yeah.
like you can feel like every punch from the Goblin. There's even some moments where Goblin like suplexes like Peter through like another floor. I was like, holy shit,
Multiple floors.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's also at one point where Lizard is like, "I told you there'd be consequences," and he throws like Peter back through a window. Um,
Mhm.
so and there's also a line from Goblin who's like, "You're strong enough to have it all, but too weak to take it," and it's like really cool. So Peter is like slammed like through the ground floor, and we also get some like badass moments from like Aunt May, surprisingly, um,
Mhm.
because in previous movies, this universe's Aunt may have like in the MCU, like this specific Aunt May, people may make like the argument like how she doesn't show as much support as previous Aunt Mays, and how she doesn't really feel like Aunt May, but here she really shows like a lot of support for Peter. She like helps him with like the cures and all that,
Yeah.
and she even like tries to like defend herself from the Goblin, which is actually like pretty like badass.
Mhm.
Um, but unfortunately, it's like not enough because Goblin calls in his glider and it like runs over May, and this is a really suspenseful scene because Goblin gets on a glider and he throws a pumpkin bomb at May, and while Peter is able to knock it out from away from May, um, it really like severely damages him, and Goblin escapes. May is okay, and what comes next, in a few minutes, like is like really like one of the most surprising scenes and one of the most heartbreaking. Um, so, so Peter is talking to May, where he's like, he's like, "This is all my fault. Uh, this is all my fault. I never should have helped him." But May gives him a talk. He's like, "What you're doing is right. You have power," and this is where she drops the quote of like, "With great power comes great responsibility." And 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 after she says this like whole like after they give like this whole back and forth conversation, Aunt May starts to like feel a little woozy and she like falls to the ground, and this is like one of the most like surprising like scenes in the movie because I actually didn't expect this. Um, while she's lying there, uh, Peter notices that she's bleeding, and Aunt May actually dies in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
which was really surprising, and it was really,
It
uh,
was, yeah.
yeah, like I expected someone to die, but I didn't expect it to, like to be May. But yeah, it was like really tragic to see. You even see like Happy come in, see that Aunt May is dead. Peter like makes his escape, um, and later you see like that. You see like Jameson making the report like everything Spider-Man touches comes to ruin, and we the innocents are left to pick up the pieces and all that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see how hard this is hitting for Peter because I know we've had like he witnessed like Tony Stark's like death in Endgame, but the difference is while he's mourning for both, uh, Iron Man was like a sacrifice, whereas Aunt May was like killed. So
Yeah.
and also he knew May for like much longer because it's a family member. Um, so yeah, this like really takes a toll for him because he wasn't able. He This is like one of the first times we actually see him not being able to like save a person from uh, while being Spider-Man. Um, so Peter like runs off somewhere, and we cut back to uh, Ned and MJ, and we're like halfway through the movie, by the way, at this point. Uh,
Yeah.
so so of course Ned and MJ are worried, and Ned is like, "I just wish we could see him," and he has Doctor Strange's sling ring, which I didn't mention before. And he's like making circles with his fingers, and he notices that he can, well, not perfectly, he can make portals with like the sling ring. So Ned and MJ try to, uh, and this is where shit really goes down, um, because Ned's like, "I wish we could find Peter," and he opens a portal, and we see, technically, we do see Peter, but
Yeah, that's true.
it's not their Peter, because, and just from the costume and from
The eye.
the eyes
Yeah.
specifically, I knew. I was like, "Hey, it's Peter." Wait,
Right.
so it was like, so yeah, this specific Peter jumps through the portal, and Ned's Lola is like freaking out, and the Spider-Man takes off his mask, and this is where we see Andrew Garfield, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and everyone was like freaking out when when this was
Oh
revealed. I
yeah.
was like, and even me, because honestly, like Garfield, like I think Garfield gets like too much shit as like
He got
his Spider
robbed.
Man. I think he
Yeah,
gets too
because
much.
they're
Yeah, I think he gets too much shit because he's not like like you. Okay, you can argue the fact that his Peter Parker is too like he's not geeky enough, but his like him as Spider Man is honestly a good Spider Man in my opinion.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think people like shit too much on Garfield Spider Man. I think it's the reason
Yeah.
because of that is because of like the way the movies were like written and how
Oh, of course, yeah.
like
And I
specifically.
think that falls again into studio interference
Oh
again,
yeah,
really just taking his,
yeah,
you know,
specifically with like the second movies because I feel like that really took a hit on
yeah,
like Garfield's like universe because like I feel like if Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't get interfered by the studio that much and they just went through this universe as it is, they could have like worked this universe and we probably wouldn't have Tom Holland since, you know, like every time they do like a bad Spider-Man movie, they just have the need to reboot it. And they have like a there's this thing in there
right.
like in Sony's contract where they have to do like a Spider-Man movie every 4 to 5 years, which is like insane, which is why we get these Spider-Man movies a lot. So
Hmm.
but it is cool to see Garfield returning for this role because I honestly think his Spider Man is really fine. So we see Garfield crawl like prove that he's Spider Man because he jumps on the ceiling and he crawls on the ceiling. He gets a cobweb, and Ned and MJ is like, she's like, okay, we opened the portal to Peter Parker, just not our Peter. So maybe if we keep doing it again, we'll get the right Peter. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah,
He was like,
yeah.
so Ned is like, find Peter Parker, and he opens a portal behind him, and you could see we get the OG. Everyone was freaking out when this happened too. It's Tobey freaking Maguire, the original Spider-Man from the Raimi trilogy, and this boy is old.
Yeah.
I was like, I was uh, like I don't know the rumors like if they actually are considering making Spider-Man 4 to actually have a satisfying conclusion for Maguire's Spider-Man. But
Right.
I would be totally down to seeing like an old man Peter story. Um,
Oh yeah, it'd be
um,
cool.
because I feel like for as much like hate that Spider-Man 3 gets, I think uh, honestly both of these Spider-Mans deserve like a satisfying conclusion, like
Yeah, for
both
sure.
Garfield and Toby.
Yeah.
So so yeah, we find we finally get the original past two Spider-Men, Maguire and Garfield. And from this point on, we're just to avoid like further confusion, we're just gonna call them by the actors' names, Garfield and Maguire, to avoid confusion. Um, we get an interaction between Toby and Garfield where they shoot the webs at each other, which is pretty cool. Um, so Maguire is like, I've been trying to find your Peter because like he may need our help. And they were like, is there like a really there's like a place that he specifically goes to get away from it all. Um, and MJ knows, and it's like the roof of like the high school.
Hmm.
So Ned and MJ meet Peter on there, and later on, Peter senses Maguire and Garfield, and you can see like their silhouettes because they're like hanging like they're like hanging themselves from like a high like the higher place from the school, and it's like pretty
Yeah.
cool. It was like it's like a cool shot.
Oh
So
yeah.
the three Spider-Man meet, and they like talk about uh, we heard about May, and we're really sorry. He's like, um, and uh, uh, and Peter is saying he's like, um, he's uh, like, like all of this is my fault. I couldn't save May or whatever, and this is where we get like some. This is like a really emotional scene because uh, Garfield and Maguire also tell their experiences. Toby mentions Uncle Ben, of course, and how he tracked down his killer, but even though I think it, did he come and I
No, he got what he wanted because the guy he like fell through the window.
yeah okay so
Yeah.
yeah he took Uncle Ben he found Uncle Ben's killer and stopped him, but it didn't make him better. And of course, Garfield mentions Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone's character in Amazing Spider-Man, and how she was, and how he couldn't save her while she was falling in the bell tower from the Hans Green Goblin. Uh,
Mm.
and he talks about how it made him bitter and how he stopped pulling his punches at one point. And and Peter he's trying to like send him home, but he MJ is like he's like, no, I think we should hear them out. Um, and then Peter mentions that one of May's final words was, "With great power," and then Toby recognizes these words comes great responsibility. He's like, because of course, if you know Spider-Man, Uncle Ben told uh, him that, and technically Garfield's Uncle Ben too, but he said it differently. Um, so Toby says like maybe Aunt May didn't die for nothing. So eventually, Peter agrees to have them help and continue the cures for the remaining villains. Um, they go into like the science lab in the school to continue the cures. Garfield, luckily, already knows the cure for the lizard, since if you've seen the first Amazing Spider-Man, he already did that once. And
Mm-hmm.
and Toby actually, for once, actually does some science stuff. He
Yeah.
works on the cure for the Green Goblin. Uh, and so yeah, all three Spider-Men work on the cures, and there's some cool interactions here. Ned goes up to Toby, saying, "He's like, so do you have a best friend?" And of course, Toby mentions Harry, who was James Franco's character. He's like, "Yeah, I had once. He died in my arms after he tried to kill me." And Ned is like, he has like this awkward face, like, "Okay." He's like, um, and then Garfield sees like Peter and MJ like uh, having this moment, and he's reminiscing, of course, about his love interest Gwen, and he's like, he's talking to Toby. He's like about he's also talking to Toby about love interests. He's like, Toby mentions that like how his like relationship is complicated because in the Raimi trilogy it really flip flops with him and MJ, but uh, eventually Toby says him and MJ made it work, and I think I don't know the word specifically, but he tells Garfield like maybe there's still someone out there for you. So maybe
Yeah.
they're teasing at uh, the MJ of the web universe for Garfield if they do
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 3. But that'd be cool to see. Or Black Cat,
Mm-hmm.
since she was in the universe for like what, like 5 minutes. Um,
Right. Yeah,
um,
that's right. Right.
yeah. So and there's also a little moment where it kind of reminisces of like the '60s Spider-Man Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme, where it's like Ned is like Peter, and all the three Peters like yeah, and they're all pointing at each other. It's like, oh, we didn't mean him. It's like really funny. So they finish the carries, and so Garfield tells Toby, "So are you just gonna go into battle dressed as a cool youth pastor?" And of course, Toby has his suit under his normal clothes because that's how it was in the Raimi trilogy. Ned gives Peter his web cartridges for his web fluids, and Toby's like, "What's that for?" He's like, "Oh, it's for my web shooters. Why?" And Toby demonstrates that his webs come from his wrists. They're organic, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, they came out of you!" And Garfield's like, "How the hell does that happen?" He's like, he's like, because I mentioned this like to like other people. It's like even like Toby's Spider Man. He's not really like a he wasn't really that sciency in like the trilogy, so he didn't really make his own web shooters uh
Mm-hmm.
like technology. But yeah, so it's funny that they're actually mentioning it. Um, so so Peter tells the other Spider-Man, he's about to say MJ's quote, which is expect disappointment, but then MJ interrupts. He's like, no, we're gonna kick some ass. And then
Mm-hmm.
Toby is like, cure some ass, and and Ned is like, cure that ass. So oh yeah, and there's also this little interaction. He's like, and where Ned tells Peter that he can make portals, and he's like, I swear, if I turn into a supervillain, I will never turn into a supervillain and try to kill you. And Peter's like, okay." um, so so they try to call the villains to a specific place, and Peter calls through J. Jonah Jameson's live feed that they want the villains to meet him at the Statue of Liberty. Um, so he calls them through Jameson, and while they're waiting, the three Spider-Man have like small talk. And we get some like cool like interactions between the three Spider-Men. So
Hmm.
like like they're telling they're asking Maguire how his webs come out of his wrist, like how it's made inside him. Um, and also, like even he can't explain it. He's like I don't know. It's like it's kind of like breathe. I can't really explain it. I just do it.
Yeah, and just do
Yeah,
it.
and uh, Peter Holland, like he's like, so what are the craziest villains that you guys have fought? And of course they're like, you've met some of them, and Maguire, surprisingly, he mentions Venom. He's like, I fought an alien made of a black goo. He's like, and Hans, Peter's like, oh, I fought an alien too in Earth and in space. Of course, he's talking about Thanos. And Garfield was like, man, I suck. I fought a guy in a rhinoceros suit. And then Maguire's like, he's like, okay, can we go back to the you're lame part because you're not. And he's like you're amazing, because Amazing Spider-Man. That's a little pun. But what I like about this interaction is like I feel like this is like a calling to like what the Spider-Man fan base should be when discussing the movies.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man. Like I'm just gonna say like Spider-Man fan base can get toxic when it comes to like discussing movies.
Oh, for sure.
Um, so I feel like seeing this interaction is like really nice because I wish this is what the Spider-Man fan base should like be like like we all enjoy Spider-Man, so why are we hating on each other? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah so eventually the three Spider-Man senses like trouble coming, and the first to arrive is Electro, and you see his new look with the arc reactor and the yellow lightning and stuff, and so 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 the three Spider-Man get to work, and there's this little interaction with with Garfield, and Electro is like, "Yo, Max, I missed you, man." He's like, which is cool, and then eventually, like Lizard and Sandman arrive too, and it starts to get like overwhelming for like the three because they haven't really strategized perfectly at this point. Um, so yeah, they start to get like their hands full, and
Mhm.
uh, at some point, Sandman gets bigger because a truck filled with sand is there, so he gets like more big. So the three Peters uh, like huddle up in like inside the Statue of Liberty. He's like, and they try to work up a plan to like take him out one by one, uh, because uh, for Maguire and Garfield, for them at least, there's like they've never actually been on a team. But Peter has, and he's like, I don't want to brag, but I've been on the Avengers, and Maguire's like, the Avengers, that's great. What is that? So it's like, so
Garfield's like, is that a band?
yeah, is that a band? Is yeah, so yeah, they mentioned, so yeah, they discussed a plan to take him out one by one. And Garfield's like, he's like, wait, I love you guys. He's like, and they're like, thank you. So they decide to take him out one by one, and the three of them leap off and swing, letting out a whole like a shout like woo. And when they say woo, like everyone in there was like also wooed. I was like, even me, because it
Yeah.
was like really cool to see. There's also a part where they like one of the Spider-Man like webs onto them and swings them further,
Yeah.
and that was really cool. So the three Spider-Men face off with Sandman, Lizard, and Electro, and of course you see that shot where they're clashing with each other, and this time Toby and Garfield are actually edited in. So yeah, because there's like a little
Right.
late clip in like I think it was like the Brazilian version where Lizard was getting kicked by nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a dead giveaway of like how who it's not really a no brainer of like who was kicking him. So yeah, the Spider Man and the villains face off, and they decide to cure Sandman first. There's an interaction where Garfield and Dr. Connors reunite. Um, so Maguire leads Sandman into the Statue of Liberty, Um, and well, just before he's like drowning in the sand, if that makes sense. But he gets taught. Peter tosses McGuire the cure, and it's like a little. It's like the particle collider that he was part of, and it reverses him, and he turns back into like normal Flint Marco, and he's no longer the Sandman, and he's cured. And I will say that um, if you watch the movies beforehand, watching this, you can tell that they reuse like stock footage of Thomas Hayden Church from Spider-Man 3. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
same
would
goes
say.
for Lizard when he gets cured too, because like it's like you can recognize like the shots, like obviously. Um, so yeah, Sandman's cured. Uh, so the next person they cure is Electro, and it's like getting difficult because of his electricity. They can't really get close, and at some point Doc Ock returns, and he pins McGuire and Garfield uh, with his arms, and at first and making Electro believe that he returned back to evil, but it turns out no, that's not the case. He's still on the side of good, and he tricks Electro by grabbing his arc reactor and replacing it with the cure, which was a cool moment. And Max is cured. so all that's
Yeah.
left. So all that's left right now is the lizard. Uh, there's one point where Lizard chases MJ and Ned through like the portal, um, and they're still being chased, and Ned opens up a portal that like unleashes like a flood of water, which washed out the lizard. Um, and at some point, Peter gets tossed to cure, and he makes the lizard bite down on it, and it unleashes like the gas, which turns him back into regular Dr. Connors. So all the three villains are cured, and also at some point, Doctor Strange returns from the mirror dimension because Ned opened a portal to him. Um, so we get interactions between some of the villains and the two Spider-Man, McGuire and Garfield. Um, we get an interaction between McGuire and Octavius, which is nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and we also get like an interaction between Electro and Garfield. Um, and there's at some point he was like, he was like, you help all these people. You got the cool suit. I just thought you were gonna be black. He was like, and Garfield's like, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And Max is like, nah, it's fine. There's got to be another Black Spider-Man out there somewhere. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh.
Everyone's like, yeah, there is. Okay. So they're
Yeah, yeah.
obviously they're like teasing Miles Morales because he's been getting like a lot of reputation recently. But
Mm.
so yeah, all the villains are cured, and but while the three Spider-Man are talking to Doctor Strange, you hear the Goblin where he's like, "Can the Spider-Man come out to play?" And I won't lie, I kind of forgot he was even in here. I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot he was in this." So um, so the Goblin comes back. He throws his like little blade, like Goblin shurikens or whatever. Um, and he puts a pumpkin bomb in the box that's containing the spell, and it blows up, and it unleashes the spell, and it rips apart the fabric of like space and time. You could like see like the cracks and stuff. Um, uh, and this is where we get like a cool moment. While the Statue of Liberty is like falling apart, MJ falls. Um, and this is like the nail biter in the trailer where it's like, oh my god, is she gonna make it or is she not? So Peter dives in to save her, but Goblin rams in, and just when you think she's about to die, Garfield's Peter comes in to save her, and of course he saves her. Because of course
Mm-hmm.
this is like a similar situation to like Gwen Stacy, and he doesn't want that to happen again, so he redeems himself for actually saving another love interest, and you can even see that
Yeah,
when he's like
that's very
crying afterwards.
sweet.
He's like crying
Yeah.
afterwards, and it was like really touching. I was like, yes. Um, uh, oh yeah. Also, Ned falls, and like Doctor Strange's cape like catches him too, and you can like see him wearing like the cape. It was just really funny. Um, So Peter is like hanging onto the Goblin's glider, and he activates one of the bombs that's in there, and it blows up the glider. And they fall down, and we have like the rematch between Peter and Goblin. So it's like, um, uh, Goblin's like, poor Peter. He's like, um, uh, not strong enough to send me out to send me back to die. He's like, and Peter's like, nah, I just want to kill you myself. And he's like, that a boy. Um, so 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 yeah, Peter and Goblin have their rematch, and you could see like the rage coming off of like Holland's Spider-Man. Like with every punch, you could like feel like the impact of like how much rage he has from like he's blind with vengeance from Goblin killing Aunt May. Um, and he's like about to beat him to like near death, and he grabs his glider, which ironically was what killed him in the first Spider-Man. And just before he's about to like stab him with the glider, Toby comes in and stops him, and he doesn't even say anything. He just gives a look, and from that, it's like he gives the look of like, "Don't do this. You're gonna regret it." Aunt May wouldn't approve of this and all that. So he convinces Peter not to kill Norman, but this also gives like another surprise. Goblin stabs Maguire in like the back, and I caught everyone off guard. It was like everyone was like, "No!"
So
It was like,
scared.
yeah. So yeah, but thankfully he doesn't die. And honestly, thank God, because I didn't want to hear like people like on Twitter was like raging at this, like, what the fuck, like, so um so yeah so eventually Garfield passes Peter the cure, and he injects it into the Green Goblin, and Norman is cured. So yeah, all the villains are cured, hooray. um but Doctor Strange is like trying to contain like the spell again, but it's just like gotten too out of hand. Um, and like I say, you can see like silhouettes within like the like space time dimension stuff. Um, I couldn't tell. Obviously, I couldn't tell all of it, but I felt like I saw like a silhouette of the Rhino, and
Oh yeah, he was there.
yeah, and another one pointed out like Craven the Hunter. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to make out, but it's like these people are like people who know Peter Parker, Spider Man, and like these are all like villains, like um, and it's really cool to see. So uh, Doctor Strange, there's nowhere to stop in, and because these people know Peter Parker is Spider Man, and they're gonna come through. But Peter gets the idea of like, what if they also forgot who Peter Parker was? Uh,
Right.
so he makes another spell. And this time Peter's like, actually do it, because I know that I know uh, what this is sacrificing. I know MJ and Ned will also forget me. I know even the Avengers are gonna forget me. I know Doctor Strange is gonna forget me. Um,
Yeah.
but after what he's just been through, he learns like the responsibility of it, like to keep like
Oh.
everyone safe and all that. And I like this is what Spider Man would do. Like I feel like this is like
Yeah.
perfect like Spider Man, like what he would actually do, like sacrificing whatever it takes to like save the ones close to him and all that. So Doctor Strange like starts to commence the spell, and while he does that, Peter says goodbye to Maguire and Garfield. Um, Maguire's in so much pain after being stabbed, but thankfully he's alive. So Spider-Man fans won't get angry at that, hopefully. Um, and there's also a touching moment with him, Ned, and MJ, and he tells them that they're gonna forget about him, and then
Hmm.
he makes a promise that he'll find him once the spell takes place. Um, and of course, Peter and MJ have a kiss, touching moment. Um, and Peter signals Doctor Strange to go forward with the spell, and
Hmm.
the the fabric of space and time is sealed, and the whole world has forgotten that Peter Parker is Spider Man, which is a really like powerful scene. And
Oh,
um,
for sure.
I feel like this is the most like suspenseful and most dramatic and most like heartfelt Spider Man movie that there is like to date. Like there was like so much at stake. Like
Yeah.
like here he like sacrifices so much, and like a lot of people like I want to say like people have like bash on MCU Spider Man, but I feel like people don't understand like the journey he like goes throughout these movies.
Yeah.
Like if you look at this like the three MCU Spider Mans alone, like the the motivations in the Raimiverse and the uh, Mark Webb universe is it's like pretty much the same. Like the moral of like the movies is pretty much like with great power comes great responsibility. Do the right thing, in order to keep uh, do the right thing in order to keep your people safe. Uh, but the journey that Peter has in the MCU is like there's like more variety in my opinion, and that's why I
Yeah.
like this Peter like this version of Spider Man the most because like in Homecoming, like he's trying to prove himself to like that he's Avengers worthy, but he like learns that he needs to stick with what he's used to, and like in Far From Home, like he realizes the weight of like people considering him going to be like the next Iron Man or something, but
Hmm.
he realizes like he should like be careful and like who he trusts because of the Mysterio and all that, and he and now in here he like sacrifices whatever it takes to like save his friends and family and all that, um because this is why I like this Peter like this Spider-Man the most because like he actually has more variety in his journey, not just from like being with the Avengers and all that, but uh like he also has his like it's a whole like he actually has a whole like arc throughout this whole
Yeah.
franchise, and that's what I love about it. So so yeah, everyone forgets he's Spider Man. Uh, and we have the epilogue, which is Peter goes to the donut shop where MJ works, and he's about to he promised like her like that he would make them remember, and Ned is also there too, um, and just as about he's about to say what he wants to say, he notices like the injury from on NJ's forehead with like the bandage and all that, and that's when Peter realizes, oh shit, if I do this again, this could put them in danger again. He's like, so after like MJ gives him like his coffee and whatever, he's like, anything else I can get for you? He's like, and Peter's like, no, and like it's such a really like touching scene because he
Oh
finally
yeah.
realizes the impact he has on people, uh, if people knows he's Spider-Man and how it could affect them, how it puts them in danger and all that. So yeah, um, I hope this isn't the last we see of Ned and MJ. Um,
Yeah. Hopefully not.
yeah, because I actually do love these characters and I love the chemistry they have. So
Yeah.
maybe in this like new trilogy that Amy Pascal is like talking about, uh, we can see kind of like I don't know, I like these characters, and I hope there's some way to work them back in. Like this doesn't have to be like their like final chapter.
No,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. So also Peter visits Aunt May's grave. There's a little epitaph where it's like I think it's like when you help someone you when you save someone you save everyone or something like that. Um, and of course like Happy also comes in to visit her grave, and they have a little chat. Like Happy says, um, you think about what they stood for, and since they're dead, you wonder if that goes along with them too. And Peter's like, I don't think so, because the people that you help, they'll help move it along, and it's like a really uh, like a powerful scene as well. Um, so after that, Peter moves into a new apartment. He's gonna start getting rent. I hope we say the rent guy from the Raimiverse. Yeah, because we got J.K. backs for Jameson, so why not the rent guy? Um,
Right.
yeah, and the apartment like it really looks like the one from the PS4 game. Like,
It does.
yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of looks like
Yeah.
it. So of course, Peter goes into this new apartment, and he makes a new uh, homemade suit, which is the classic red and blue, but it's like the blue is like shinier.
So good.
Yeah, it's like a new homemade suit, and what I like about this, um, like like you can see like snow, like it's snowing in like the background, so this is like around like the end of the year. So it's like I feel like this is literally what it like literally new year, new me, like you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
because
Absolutely.
like I feel like like this new suit represents with him going back to the beginning, starting a new chapter, starting with like a clean slate and all that. So yeah, it's like a I think this is like a perfect like end like to this trilogy because he's like swinging off, beginning a new chapter of his life, as Spider-Man. So yes, I think this is like for once we finally get like a good Spider-Man trilogy from Homecoming, Far From Home, and now to like No Way Home. I think this is like a
Oh,
satisfying
sure.
trilogy.
Yeah.
So, and it like satisfies a lot of people. It's like, and people say like this, and I feel like I agree with this. This feels like the end game for this universe of Spider-Man
Oh,
because
completely.
not only for this Spider-Man but for Spider-Man movies as a whole, like it brings like everything back. It like brings pretty much everything you would expect out of a Spider-Man movie, like a what it feels to like be Spider-Man and what he goes through and all that. So yeah, I say this was like a perfect ending. Um, so of course we get two post credit scenes. The first one is a question I've been wondering throughout most of the film after seeing Venom Let There Be Carnage. It's that where the hell is Venom? Because in the post credit scene for Venom Let There Be Carnage, you could see uh, Venom being transported into this universe, and he sees like Spider Man on the TV. He's like that guy, and so Venom is in Eddie and Venom, played by Tom Hardy again, uh, is in Mexico, talking to like this bartender where he's like, "So let me get this straight. You're saying this universe has a bunch of like super people," and he's talking about, you know, Iron Man, Hulk, Thanos, and all that. He's like, you know what? Maybe I should go travel to New York and talk to this Spider guy. And but just before he can, Doctor Strange does the spell and he's transported back to his own universe. Uh, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed because I feel like it
Oh, yeah.
looked like they were leading up that from Venom 2 because he was like that guy. It was like this went nowhere, but but before that, it's not all too disappointing, but because a piece of the Venom symbiote is left behind, and it's still like sentient. So
Yeah.
maybe this is leading to like you know either them trying to do the symbiote story again, trying to redeem Spider-Man 3. Um, like they're trying like maybe trying to introduce like a this universe's Eddie Brock. I don't know how
Right.
this will go because Tom Hardy's Venom universe is still going because it'll get confusing. Um,
Yeah.
uh, or maybe, and this may be a long shot, but since Flash Thompson is in his universe, we may be looking at Agent Venom. So,
Right. That's also a
yeah,
possibility.
that opens up like whole possibilities for like the symbiote coming into this universe.
Mm.
Um, and honestly, for like when once I rewatched Venom Let There Be Carnage, and the more I watch it, the more I feel like it could that movie could have done more because it was PG-13 and it had Carnage. Like I didn't think Carnage really fit for
Yeah.
PG-13 because you know I wanted to see Carnage like let loose and spoilers for Let There Be Carnage, but uh, the next film they're setting up will involve Toxin, and honestly, I don't know how that'll go. If that'll be any better, because really the only two symbiotes that people know are Venom and Carnage. So I don't know if Toxin is gonna be like gonna make it any better,
Good
unless
question.
unless because people are rumoring that Venom is part of the Andrew Garfield universe. So maybe bringing in Garfield, Spider Man to fight this version of Venom may be the only way to like have it be actually like worth watching. So so yeah, we got a little bit of Venom. It was kind of disappointing since like he wasn't actually like the sixth member of this multiversal Sinister Six, which wasn't even a Sinister Six. It was five people, so it's pretty much like Furious Five or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so if you wait after the credits, you see the after credits scene, which isn't even a after credits scene. It's a full on trailer, and
True. Yeah.
and the trailer is out right now. It's for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and honestly, after seeing this one with what they did with the multiverse, as well as like they did tease it with like WandaVision and Loki and all that, I'm definitely like more excited for Doctor Strange 2 than I ever been like in the past.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
because from what I saw in the trailer, we get Schumer Garath. Uh, we also see America Chavez, which I'm not into her character, but I'm curious to see how they'll portray her. We also
Mhm.
get Doctor Strange's love interest, Christine, back. Of course, Elizabeth Olsen is back as Wanda, Scarlet Witch in this, which we already knew from like the rumors and all that.
Right.
And the end stinger was uh, another version of Doctor Strange. And if you haven't been watching Marvel What If because you thought it was gonna be like all non-canon, this is the Doctor Strange Supreme where he like goes out of control and pretty much goes evil. And so, and from what I hear, Doctor Strange 2 is gonna go wild with like all the multiverse stuff. Like they're gonna bring
Yeah.
stuff from What If, and not only that from like the Fox universes and other Marvel
I'm
properties that
hearing.
aren't MCU. So maybe we'll see like X Men or maybe freaking uh,
Fan-
Captain
Ooh.
Carter, freaking. Uh, I wish we could do like T'Challa Starlord because of Chadwick Boseman not being around us with us anymore. I don't know if we'll see that happen now, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll see what if characters, which will be cool to see. Uh, Certain people like redeem uh, or reprise their characters. Uh,
Mhm.
I hope we see some X Men. I think I don't know if this is true, but I think Ghost Rider will make an appearance, or unless that's like
That'd be
another
cool.
different thing. Uh, and I hear they're considering Norman Reedus, who's known for playing Daryl from
Oh
The
yeah.
Walking Dead, which would be cool to see.
Yeah.
But if they somehow get Nicolas Cage to return for Ghost Rider, then I'll be so down. Um, but yeah, we got a full on trailer for Doctor Strange 2, which is you can watch right now. So and it's shot for shot. There's like no like difference between the after credits and the
Mhm.
actual trailer.
Same one.
So yeah, that's pretty much like everything we can cover in Spider-Man No Way Home. This is like I definitely loved the hell out of this movie every time I like the three times I watched it. Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Very close.
I know people like are saying like Phase Four hasn't really been too like memorable, uh, but you got to consider that um, we finished Phase Three with like Endgame, and that was like a big culmination of the original Avengers as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
So you got to really think about we entering like a new generation of Marvel movies and Avengers movies. We
Yeah.
got to introduce like new characters, like we got Shang Chi and the Eternals and all that. But honestly, like I didn't really like see like any from what I've been keeping up, and I've been keeping up after like Endgame and Spider Man Far From Home and all that. But and honestly, it's not too bad. Like I like WandaVision fine. I like Loki fine. I loved Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Um, I love the Hawkeye series. I even love the new characters. I like Shang Chi. I like the Eternals and all that.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
I feel like this. I feel like this movie is like okay, so maybe what you've seen so far hasn't been hard hitting. So we'll definitely have a hard hitter for this one. We'll have like one good one for this phase at least. So and yeah, definitely like was a big hit and probably the best on the phase in phase four so far.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'd agree.
um, so yeah, I am definitely looking forward to more of like the MCU now than I have uh, in previous Phase Four installments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I'm definitely interested in like She Hulk. Um, what else is there? I'm curious to see how Miss Marvel goes.
Moon
Um,
Knight.
yeah,
It's
Moon
gonna be
Knight. That's gonna be cool. Um, I know. Oh yeah, also Blade. That's gonna be cool.
right,
Uh,
right,
uh, they're also planning Fantastic Four, but that one I'm kind of worried because we haven't really had a good Fantastic Four movie. But it is
right.
being directed by John Watts, who directs these MCU Spider-Man movies. So maybe we can finally get it right for the Fantastic Four for once.
That
Um,
would be lovely.
yeah, because yeah, I feel bad for the Fantastic Four because they haven't got a good live action movie.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, like we had Fan Four Stick and the original one with like you know like Rise of the Silver Surfer, and the original one with like Jessica Alba and stuff, and Chris Evans actually. Um,
Chris Evans, yeah.
Maybe Chris Evans will return and brought in from into the multiverse as Human Torch. He's like Steve, who? Um, but yeah, pretty much my thoughts. Like I loved every second of it. I think people were saying like this is like the end game for Spider-Man. It's like yeah, that definitely like feels like it feels like a culmination of the Spider-Man movies, and I loved like
Yeah,
it's like really hard to find like any flaws about it because and it even if I did have flaws, they feel like nitpicks honestly. So
yeah,
honestly,
I,
yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts about it?
yeah, no, it's definitely a culmination of like the last, yeah, just 20 years of Spider-Man, and I think that
Hmm.
it does it in such a way that just, is it's like they do it in such a way where the other characters don't really overshadow one another, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just felt like everyone had their specific things that worked so well, and it all came together in just a really conclusive, good piece for all the Spider-Man, really.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the rating I gave this movie, and I didn't think I'd be able to do this after Endgame, but I consider this Spider-Man movie like a full-on 10 out of 10 because I just loved it that much. So uh, what would you give it like out of like 10?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 10,
10?
10 out
Yeah.
of 10.
Yeah, I didn't think I didn't think I'd be able to do it after Endgame, but this movie proved me
Oh,
wrong.
definitely.
Uh, but I'm definitely curious to see where this new trilogy goes. What kind of stories they might go through, and I think I didn't mention this before, but when Ned was talking about, I promise I won't kill you, try to kill you. I think because in Ned leads, he's an actual character in the comics, and he becomes Hobgoblin. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know if I would see this specific version as Hobgoblin, but hopefully, if they try to make it work, hopefully it'll look good. Uh,
yeah,
because this Ned now he doesn't know who Peter Parker is, so maybe that's gonna
right.
make for like an intense like uh
Yeah, well,
interaction. So
mhm.
yeah, those were like our thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. I know this is like a few weeks late, but yeah, I still wanted to like get my thoughts on it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so like I thought the acting from the characters were great. I thought the villains returning were great. The action also awesome. Uh, it was this is definitely the most suspenseful, most dramatic, and most heartwarming Spider-Man
hmm,
movie that we've gotten in a while. Um, and yeah, it's pretty much uh, pretty much go see it if you haven't. Some if you somehow didn't see it.
please. Yeah,
Uh, uh, but yeah, I'm definitely down to see like more multiverse stuff. But yeah, so yeah, those are our thoughts on Spider-Man: No Way Home. Thanks to Seth for joining me on this one.
yeah, of
Uh,
course.
yeah, you can subscribe to his channel, swizkii, where he makes comic book rap battles and all that. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Hope you guys had a happy holidays, and hope you have a happy New Year as well. Um, I got some stuff cooking up for next year, so stay tuned for those. And until next time, I'm Bilo, and I'll see you guys next time.